Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to JungleBooster, Amazon FBA for Aussies. We will get underway in just a sec. G'day, Shane. Nice to see you back so soon. Just coming over from the other webinar. We run 2 webinars on a Tuesday night. We're just coming out of the Rapid Startup webinar, and we're getting into the Amazon FBA at junglebooster.com. If you're watching us live, junglebooster.com/live. To watch us there. There is a chat box to come and say hi. Let us know where you're coming in from. Tonight we are on lesson 3 of 7, which is your Amazon account. So how to create your Amazon account, which account to use, whether you can stick with your freebie, whether you need to pay the monthly fee, all that sort of stuff, what the implications are, whether you should or shouldn't do one or the other. We'll get into all that in just a minute. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nathan. This is the JungleBooster Amazon FBA for Aussies meetup. We run every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. I was about to say 8 p.m., but it's getting on now. It's 9 p.m. If you're watching this on the replay, junglebooster.com/replay, you can say hi in the chat box right down the bottom. If you are watching us live, hi Shane, hi everyone. We are live at junglebooster.com/live. Tonight is lesson 3. We'll be talking about creating your Amazon account. So this is the 3rd of a 7-part series. First is the product analysis. The second is samples. The third tonight is creating your Amazon account. So we'll go through all of the ins and outs of that. We'll do a quick recap on the previous ones as well if you missed any of those. If you are new here and you want to go back to the previous, go back through all of these. This is the 5th time we've been through this, I think. So and we won't stop anytime soon. If you hover down on the video here, I think it's here. I hope it's here. Right about here. You'll get the little YouTube logo. You can click there and click subscribe, and that will get you on the indication of when they're coming out, but also gives you the list of the old ones as well. So you can go back through all of the titles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've named them all that way. So you can always go back and have a look at the previous sessions as well. If you are here with us in Perth, you can meet us every 2nd Wednesday, so not tomorrow night, which is the 15th of February. It's not tomorrow night, it's the February, the Wednesday afterwards. We will be having a session, and into the next session after that, I think is around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of March, or something like that. So the next fortnight after that will be the first session run by our friend Shane, which is very exciting. He's going to go back to the start for us also. He'll be going back to lesson 1 and taking it from there. So city session, I think, for Shane, so that's very exciting as well. Try and split them up and make sure we can have as many of these sessions as possible. It's gearing up to be a very exciting year for us Aussies, Aussie entrepreneurs, online sellers, online retailers who want to capitalize on the gold rush that's coming, which is Amazon launching the Amazon FBA business, physical product business here in Australia at the end of the year. So there's not a lot of time between now and that, so several months. Looks like a lot of time, but as we've said, going through the product research phase, getting samples back and forth, getting products in, getting it shipped in, getting it labeled, all that sort of stuff, that time gets eaten away really quickly. All right, so let's jump into tonight's session. We're talking about everything around your creating your account. Next session will be creating your first listing, which is how you get your products up onto Amazon. And we move on from there in future sessions as well. So as I said, junglebooster.com/live for all of tonight's notes. You can download the slides from tonight's notes to follow them up later on, print them out, read. In this session, we'll talk about the what is Seller Central, which type of account you need to set up, account versus brand versus sold by, intro to brand registry, and what does ungating actually mean. Give you a bit of a recap on what I'm up to as well. Last session was samples, so how to find suppliers, talking with your suppliers, and getting your first samples of your new product. It's pretty cool. As I said, in future sessions of the 7 steps of launching your first or next 100 products, creating and optimizing your listing will be the next session. Building a launch list, all the more important these days. Product packaging, shipments, launching, sales, all that sort of stuff. So we get into all of those in future sessions as well. As I mentioned, building a list is extremely important on the back of Amazon changing the landscape, flattening out, I guess, the barriers to entry. It's a good thing. But recently, one of the biggest changes they made last year, which is a shock change to a lot of people, the absolute Wild West was over when Amazon banned incentivized reviews. So you might have seen a bunch of hoo-ha around this if you were following along. If not, you might have noticed when you were searching around for products to buy on Amazon, you might have noticed some of the reviews said, I received this product for a heavy discount in exchange for a review, which meant that the person obviously was paid for that review or incentivized for that review. Obviously, as an unbiased marketplace, where you've got a reputation and brand around the product and its usability and suitability for purpose, Amazon is built on the back of this reputation engine, so people go there to find out what other people think of products, and they believe that those are unbiased reviews. So Amazon thought that all of these paid reviews, which were helping brands launch really quickly, basically if you went and used some of these services, you could pay $1 for a review, which is craziness. It's ridiculously cheap. So if Amazon is built on the review system and you would be better placed to sell your product if you had lots more reviews, why not go and pay for a heap of them? So that's not really it's not really fair, not really a good reputation engine. So Amazon banned them basically to help out us as the consumer. Really put the brakes on rapid launching as well. So we're going to get back to the good old days of really building a launch list. So we're getting into all that in a future session as well. Now, this isn't for the faint of heart. This isn't the easiest business model to run with. This isn't passive income by any means. It is a rapid startup business model, though. It is something you can get underway with a minimal capital expenditure and a minimal amount of skills and effort. If you're willing to put in consistent upfront effort to learn the processes and go through a little bit of hardship, then it can be extremely lucrative, extremely successful. As I always say, one of my favorite quotes ever is, you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So it took me a lot of heartache getting my business on Amazon last year. So 2015, I spent a lot of time and frustration and not going anywhere. 2016, my word of the year was focus, and I spent a lot more time on my Amazon business. And come Q4 last year, so the old Christmas rush on online sales, I sold out of all of my products, which was awesome. I went from a handful of sales a day to several handfuls of sales per day, pretty much overnight, and I ran out of stock just before Christmas. So definitely a focus for that year. If you are unaware of the business model that is staring you in the face, it's a very simple model when it comes to it. If you have heard of or have any input or have any experience in e-commerce, it's very similar. Obviously, the e-commerce is the platform Amazon.com, but they run everything. Once you send the product to them, they'll warehouse, they'll manage the sale, they'll manage the customer, they'll do the pick, pack, ship, getting it all into a nice, pretty Amazon box, sent out really quickly to the customer. They also do all the tracking and things like that, refunds, returns, handling the customer, handling the freight services and the missed packages and all that sort of stuff. They do all of that for you. So that is the fulfillment by Amazon. They basically do everything after it's landed for us. And as retailers, that is an excellent idea. So why Amazon? Why this platform? Why play in someone else's garden? This garden happens to be one of the biggest swap meets in the world. So 300 million credit cards, actually is more than that now on file. There's only 300 million Americans. So I know I have my credit card on file at Amazon.com. Excuse me while I have a big drink. I'm losing my voice now. Searches on Amazon are buyers. So this is my example I use all the time, stainless steel. If you type in stainless steel into Google, then you're going to get a Wikipedia entry and something about the actual product, the actual commodity itself. Type in stainless steel into Amazon.com and you are going to get products, and you're going to get the top selling products around that niche and the top competing products vying for that keyword up there as well. So let's future pace this. The end game with Amazon. So why would you get into this model, and what's the potential upsides and exit strategies of this? So the why now on getting into Amazon is the fact that they're coming down under. The fact that this model that they have proven in the US, and it's a huge marketplace in the US, they've proven so well. They've launched into Japan, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, all that sort of stuff. They're everywhere. They're in India on a smaller scale. It's actually quite an epic scale, but a lot smaller scale in all those other emerging markets. But Australia is next. So they are on a world domination tour, and we are in the sights for the next launch for this. It's a huge boon for e-commerce. It's massive for businesses. It's going to be a huge disruptor to things like JB Hi-Fi, and that sort of stuff, which I think is fantastic as a consumer. I think it's awesome. We're going to have this awesome competitive model coming in to reduce prices, put them more on par with what we should be getting for products that are of equal value and worth coming from the US. We're already very jealous of the prices that those guys can get over there. So them bringing it up here is awesome. On another note, you try to use some of our logistics services here in Australia, and they are terrible, to say the least. The fact that Amazon's going to bring its own logistics model, eventually the Prime model, where every American can get free 2-day shipping anywhere in the country. I don't think they'll launch that straight away here. If they do, that'll be awesome, but I don't think it's going to happen straight away. But either way, Amazon coming down under is huge, and it's a massive opportunity for us as entrepreneurs to get in at the ground floor, get things into Amazon, and really hit that gold rush. They will have a huge launch. They'll have very limited competition up there. Grab a niche, run with it, make money is the plan. There isn't a lot of more details as to when, how, what, who they're going to open it to, whether they're even going to open FBA straight away, whether they're going to allow us third-party sellers on it straight away, all that sort of stuff. So stay tuned. Bear with us. We are going to try and get as much information as part of these lessons moving forward. But there is lots of work we can do up front to get on the front foot with this. So what is a potential exit strategy? So I've got an article here from entrepreneur.com. Amazon businesses are being snapped up by big buyers. Now, this was a huge trend sort of towards the end of last year, as huge venture-backed and conglomerates saw the Amazon businesses as excellent cash cows, turning over consistent revenue and reasonable profits for very little effort. They were coming in, swooping up and buying them out from underneath them. So sometimes 20 to 30x multiple on what they were actually turning around, because these businesses were buying basically cash machines. So they loved it. So that's a potential exit strategy as well. Build a good brand, turn over the product during this, and you might find yourself becoming one of these numbers as an exit strategy. It's pretty cool. So how we run these sessions, as I said, we also have another session prior to this one called the Rapid Startup Meetup, where we go through the 7-day startup process. Now, I've adopted the 7-step process across to Amazon FBA. I've now launched several businesses using this proven methodology. I love it. I try and tie everything to anything I do with starting these days. These are the kind of thought processes logically I can go through, sort of the minimum steps we need to get a business up and running. So I've mapped those across to what you would need to actually launch an Amazon business and the order in which you can do them. So starting with product research, finding a supplier and getting some samples, creating a seller account and things like a logo. You don't need to start with a logo for your business and your brand. You may not even need it up front. It is advisable to go for a brand rather than just reselling something else or slapping a fake logo on something and going that way, because you'll end up being another Me Too. Number 4, the next lesson will be creating your listing, which is, we'll go through exactly what that is coming up. Number 5, keyword research and reviews. Number 6 is sales and margins. Look at some of the numbers and metrics. And then number 7 is your promotional blast or your launch list. So on Amazon, it all starts with a keyword. So some very cool tools out there. Some of the best bits about Amazon being a huge marketplace is they actually let us see behind or inside the kimono. They open up the doors and let out just a tiny taste of an epic amount of data. So there's some tools like Merchant Words, where merchantwords.com, it's a free one for very limited search, and then you can pay to have a bit more. The numbers on here aren't 100% correct. Obviously, it's an aggregate of search terms and trends and things like that, but to give you an idea of the depth and breadth of potential people searching for your product or ideas around your product, you can type in these keywords into Merchant Words. So if I type in stainless steel, I get 35,000 plus search terms on Amazon. So stainless steel, buy stainless steel, steel stainless, for stainless steel. There'll be stainless steel water bottles in there, I guarantee, and that'll be huge because it's one of the number 1 sellers on Amazon. Hence why I like one of these keywords, because it gives me an insight into that kind of market. But then Merchant Words gives you the kind of estimated search volume for that, which gives you a good indication of the depth on that. And obviously, people buy lots of stuff. So just that one keyword, stainless steel, I know it's 2 words, but it's a keyword. The top 15 results, which includes stainless steel cookware for $60 and $7 rings. It's almost $1 million, 670,000 US. That's $1 million in Australian dollars a month is turning around just on that front page. Which is crazy. All right, so what is a listing? We'll go into a bit more detail next time, but a product, when you put a product on Amazon, it's called a listing. So each of those on there, each of those things here, each of these rows, each of these products is actually a listing. We'll go through some of the items. We'll go through this in more detail. Once you've created your account, you can go and create listings and actually list these products up here. So there's some very important components of these that you need to be aware of. And we can go through those in the next session as well. We did a quick recap. We'll go through the ideas, the do's and don'ts on coming up with an idea if you're into product research, using sales estimate tools like Jungle Scout. We do have a link for this in tonight's presentation as well if you want to get a discount on that. We do have an affiliate link that you can use to create a Jungle Scout account. I absolutely highly recommend you get Jungle Scout if you are looking at starting an Amazon business. And there are obviously some free tools you can use as well. Google.com/trends finally updated that link, which gives you an indication of whether your products are seasonal. We've run into this issue when we found an awesome product that had great numbers, it was selling awesome, and it just turned out that this sort of thing wouldn't sell 3/4 of the year. We wouldn't have known that if we hadn't have jumped across to Google Trends. Again, another free tool, camel.com. Interesting name, very cool tool. You throw in the competitor product. If you're doing your research on, say, the stainless steel cookware, you can see what it's been selling at. So if you were doing your research and you didn't go through trends and you found that it was selling awesome in April, May at $80, awesome, $80, I can get this for $50, I'm gonna make $30, it's selling like crazy in April, May every year. And if I go back to the seasonal trends, it's pretty much the end of the year. And that's it. It doesn't really sell much for the rest of the year. So the spikes were during the year. And also on the pricing, this actually sells around $50, and the base price was $38. So $52 was the average price for pretty much 4.5 years. So if you thought you were going to buy it for $50 and make $30, you'd be in big trouble. So these are free tools you can use to analyze the data that Amazon's making available to us. They're very, 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 very important when doing your analysis. So quick recap on last week's session as well. Finding products, low cost, but of quality. So 2 places to get started. Obviously, everyone's favorite is Alibaba.com, very popular site. Obviously, it is also full of crap. Pardon the French. There are a lot of middlemen. There's actually more middlemen than actual factories on Alibaba. I've started using global sources to source my products now and do a lot of research on there. I even find creating relationships on global sources. I'll find that those are the factories that are usually represented on Alibaba. They might not have all their products up there, but they're wanting to have their presence. I'll find the suppliers that I want to use, and then their products listed on Alibaba. So I'll find them, create a relationship, get them to send me their product catalog, which usually I've actually found a lot of them sending me back to their Alibaba listing, but then I know I've cut out the middleman and I'm going straight to the source. Alibaba have started running sessions down here. AliExpress are running sessions down here. They know that the Australian entrepreneur market is rife for this stuff. They know Amazon is coming. They want to get ahead of this. They know that a lot of Aussies are becoming aware, increasingly aware of China's need for and desire for Aussie products and non-Chinese products, non-overseas products and things like that. So Alibaba is capitalizing on that and getting us to help try and bridge that gap and get those products in there as well. So they are doing sessions around the place. This is one they ran last year. They'll be running them again this year as well. So it's happening. All this stuff is happening. Very exciting. A couple of tips on contacting suppliers. So my number 1 tip is to get a real email address. Don't use crazyguy69@hotmail.com for your email address and expect to get a professional response from a supplier. I was speaking to a supplier and asked them how many responses they need to send out a day, like how many people contact them saying, how much is this, or what's the minimum order quantity on this? And she said, oh, around 300. I said, 300, is that a week? She said, no, that's a day. 300 requests a day from randoms that she has to deal with, along with the normal business sort of stuff. So if you grab yourself a real email address from something like a hostgator.com, if you're using those, or I use Google Apps for work so I can have lots of them, it goes a long way to making sure you at least pass the spam filter for these guys. A few tips again on working together. So you are creating a relationship with the supplier. This is not reaching out to an e-commerce store saying, give me a wholesale account. This is a supplier where you're going to have a real business relationship and you're going to need to lean on each other in the future for all sorts of things. I've been through many things with my supplier. I'll cover off a couple of awesome stories that have turned out well because I had a relationship with the supplier. So they are looking for quality sellers, which you need to come across as one. Number 2 is you want to be the buyer of the business when you're talking to them, not the owner. For 2 reasons. One is perception. If you are the buyer of a business, it sounds like the business has a buying department. They sound like a legitimate business. 2 is if you are the buyer and not the owner, you have leverage. They say, this is the absolute minimum price. Great, I can just go and talk to the owner now, and then you can come back and say, look, I really want to work with you. I'm creating a great relationship with you. You seem really nice, but the owner's twisting my arm. I really need to get an extra few units, or I need to get half of this on consignment the first time around, or something like that. So you've got that leverage with them if you're not the overall owner, and it's not typical for owners to contact suppliers directly. So That's another one on that one as well. As I said, you want to build a long-term relationship. This is so important, guys. You'll regret it if you don't do it. You are looking for samples of the product, but not necessarily just the product. So you definitely need to get samples of the product, not pictures, not just the packaging, not a sample of like a prototype or something. You want actual samples of the real product. If it comes in 2 different sizes, get both sizes. If it comes in 2 different colors, get both colors if you can as well. Because sometimes if it's black and it's white, and you say, okay, we'll just get similar to the black one, that's fine, that's cool. And it turns out the white one's kind of an off-white, and it's really important that it's white. You need to get those products out to you. But also, it is important as well to get samples of the packaging. If they send out crappy packaging or standard packaging, you're not going to be sure what the actual real one's going to look like. If the logos look right, if it's it's nice solid plastic molding around the product, or the card is thick enough, thin enough, or it's easy to open, the box looks crap, or it looks thin, or it crumbles, or it gets damaged in transit really easily, things like that. So the packaging is just as important as the product itself. A good packaging can create the allure of a more valuable product as well, which means you can charge more for your product. And first, MOQ. So MOQ is minimum order quantity, and that's pretty much the first number that's usually mentioned on products listed, especially on Alibaba. So the first MOQ is something you can actually have some negotiation with. Not necessarily, so the MOQ isn't usually the MOQ, and sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less. But if the first question is what's your MOQ, you might find yourself in the same spam bucket as Funny Guy 69. But don't ask for MOQ in the first question. Start a relationship. But you can do some negotiation around first MOQ. Look, this is our first run of this. We're trying to build a relationship with you. We need some trust here. Can you send us some samples? Yes, no, maybe. On this first MOQ, can you send us half-size shipment? If they say absolutely not, it needs to be full size. Okay, if I can sign the first size, so let's say it's 1,000 units, I'll pay you up front for the first 500. I'll book in the next 500, and I'm going to buy those in the next 3 months or something like that. Otherwise, the relationship is over. That way, they've got some assurance that you're going to do that, and you've kind of bought into them as well. All right, just a couple of tricks on finding suppliers around Alibaba if you do need to use Alibaba. So the all important 3 ticks: trade assurance, gold supplier, and assessed supplier are a great way to weed out a lot of the middlemen. As I said, build relationships, get off Alibaba so you can use the Alibaba app and in-house communication services to start the relationship, but I use Hangout, Skype as well to get them off there for a bit more fluid a conversation, even if it is only in chat, not just in person. And yes, you want to pay for your samples. And if you aren't willing to go through all of that to get to the sample stage, there is a faster way where you can go to aliexpress.com, which will get you sample sizes, but you are going to pay more than sample prices for those. But it's a good way of getting started. I've seen people start $500 challenges where they throw $500 of product and shipping and double that as their first listing. And that is aliexpress.com. That's owned by Alibaba. So it's like an e-commerce store wrapped around Alibaba. So this is an example of me talking samples. That was in the last time's session. So let's look at tonight's session. I don't have a lot of notes on this, but it is an important one. So your Amazon account. Lesson 3, let's go and create an Amazon account. So to create an Amazon account, it's sellercentral.com. There are about 3 other URLs you can actually go through to get it, but that's the fastest way to grab it. And you can register an account there. So if you wanted to register a full Amazon seller merchant account, that is the business account or merchant account, you can do that. You may even already have a personal account. If it's an Amazon.com account, you have the ability to register that as a seller, and you can sell under that account, and you don't pay the monthly fee. If you want a full-blown merchant account, you do have a monthly fee. So let's go into what that actually means. So As a merchant, you do have a $39.99 a month fee. Now you can get, I think, a 14-day trial on this as well. But it's $39 a month, which is actually quite high for starters. So a lot of people balk at that at first. They get a bit frightened. But when you see that it allows you to have multiple brands, it significantly lowers the sales fees. So you do have fees on top of that as well to pay. So upwards of 30% of your sale goes to Amazon to do the fulfillment side of things. So it's not the cheapest model for this sort of stuff. So these are important fees to understand. But those fees are dramatically reduced on this monthly plan. And you also get a whole bunch of other seller functions. For example, access to pay-per-click, which I can't see, unless you are doing like selling secondhand books or something like that, I can't see you launching your own brand without using PPC. So the monthly spend, if you get a 14-day trial and get that up and running, get your listing up, get your products in there, and have that first month of fees, kick off your PPC campaign. You're going to be literally going to be starting in the red anyway, because you need to purchase your product. But I really don't think that that fee should stop you. That's just a fee to play in that marketplace as well. A couple more things. I've been asked around starting a US account versus an Australian account. If you have intentions of selling on the US account, a US market, it is the biggest one by far, like 100x the others, easily. It's where I cut my teeth. I have backed off. I'm keeping my account open, but I have backed off my US account because I'm going to be focusing on my efforts on the Australian store. That's not to say I'm going to turn my account off. I've got all that account history in there. I've got all those reviews. I've got all those seller feedback. So I'm going to pay even to leave it open and not actually have any sales because it's so valuable to me. I'm going to use the local Australian market to prove products, get more listings, get more inventory and more funds in, and then I'll do more launches on the US store because there's so much opportunity on there and so much more opportunity for growth as well. So you will need, I haven't 100% confirmed this because there's no information about this just yet, but you can hold off for Amazon.com.au to open up their seller accounts. I think that would mean you will have less of a learning curve. You will be further back on the learning curve once they do launch than creating the US account now and starting to test out all this stuff. But you will need both. You will need a .com.au if you want to sell on the Australian site. I'm going to need to create, for example, an Australian account to launch in Australia, even though I already have sales and a US account. So they do keep them separate for several reasons, for taxation reasons, for cross-border reasons, all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of reasons they do this. These are separate marketplaces. They want to keep their consumers separate as well. It's just the right thing to do, I think. But making us create multiple accounts makes it a little bit more difficult and obviously a bit more expensive as well. So if you have a US account, are you going to be able to use or turn that into an Australian account? What we've guessed at this point, based on how they've launched in other areas, is no. I don't see a strong enough trade agreement with the countries for them to allow that to happen. I guess socially it'll be fine, but not governmentary and regulatory wise. I don't think that's going to happen. So when Amazon.com.au does finally launch here in Australia, I think we're going to have to create our own Australian accounts on this as well. So do I need an American company if I'm launching on Amazon.com? The answer to that is kind of, and not really. So obviously you would need to contact a professional for this. I can't give you exact information. I haven't registered an American company yet. I'm going to, but it's not specifically for the reason of creating an Amazon.com account. So When you sign up to Amazon.com, it says you need an EIN and a whole bunch of other stuff, American, blah, 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 US citizen stuff. It's not actually true. You just say, no, I'm not. And then once you sign that little form that says I'm not an American citizen for taxation purposes, they pretty much leave you alone because they're not interested in you then, because you're not liable for any of the American taxes there. So, and basically they're off the hook. So they leave us alone then. So you can register an Australian company, and I recommend having an Australian company so you can get some insurance around products, especially if you're selling anything that goes inside someone's body. Getting yourself some protection around that is very important, otherwise they might come and take your house. But definitely an Australian company, and when we launch here, we'll have to have one because we'll be Aussie citizens in the Australian store. As I said, talk to a professional because the American tax system is crazy, and I think ours is just as bad. So speak to your accountant on that one as well. All right, I'm going to go too much detail on what I'm up to in at the moment. Let me come back to myself. So that is tonight's session. Number 3 is creating your account. Next week's session, next Tuesday night, we'll go straight into lesson 4. We do sometimes have bonus sessions as the in-between zones, but tonight we're going to go lesson 3 and next week lesson 4 straight into it. Lesson 4 is creating your first listing. So now we've created our Amazon account, we can actually go and create our first listing as well. So taking the product, taking the samples, potentially our photos and stuff we've taken from there, and actually put them up on our first listing in Amazon. So that's all really cool. I think getting ourselves an account, getting ourselves listed, our first products up there, first samples across, getting all this done now will put us in a great spot for actually when Amazon.com.au launches towards the end of this year. If you have any questions, guys, you can leave them in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, junglebooster.com/replay, there is a chat box right down the bottom, and you can get in contact with me. There's also a big yellow button where you can grab 15-minute session with me if you need to chat. If you need help with any of this on your Amazon business, if you want to ask any questions around launching, anything we've done in the past as well, you can let me know where you're up to and what I can do to help. What I might do is cut back to how I've gone so far. Have a bit of a recap on this session. So, as I said, guys, any questions, let me know in the chat box. So the numbers and metrics for my one metric that matters on my business is ensuring that I can get 10 sales a day at $10 profit within 3 months on my products. 3 products, 3 months is a 6-figure business. Fantastic. Make it successful or drop the whole idea. Right, quick recap from tonight's session. Do you need a merchant account or a personal account? You can start with a personal account and get to know the system. You won't get access to Amazon's pay-per-click, or it's basically the Amazon sponsored products module. There's some reporting you won't get access to, some of the inventory areas you won't get access to, which is fine. You will be able to create listings and things like that as well. You could potentially sell some of your secondhand stuff from around the house on there and get to know the system. Do we have an American account versus an Australian account? If you are looking just to launch in Australia, you can hold off. As I said, you could create a personal account just to test that while they're available. So you'll be able to hit the ground running when they do open the Australian accounts. But again, do we need an American bank account? No, you don't even need one or an American company to launch in America. But we will need one to actually hold a real business in Australia. There are some limitations. I think it's like the 20,000 or 70,000 rule. There's GST and cash business. I think it's 20,000. So I would recommend creating a business purely for the business separation of you from any potential liabilities if you're selling to consumers. Don't know what these crazy people out there do these days. So I definitely recommend getting yourself an Aussie business, especially if you're just going to launch here. And grabbing tools like Jungle Scout, Camel, Merchant Words, a whole bunch of these free tools you can grab to check your numbers, test stuff out, and really start your analysis of that data now. All right. As a bonus, and I've done this last week as well, there is a way that you can validate your products before you actually even start selling them. So if you're not even going to get into the product and sample side, I've created a system at rapidstartup.io/e-commerce where you could take a simple system, simple landing page system, simple opt-in form where you're creating a compelling reason for someone to give you their email address and then send them across to your Amazon affiliate link. That gives you the potential to send people off to collect a fantastic product that you've introduced to them. It could be your competitor's product where you're creating a launch list of your competitor's customers, which is a great way of getting paid for doing product research. A super simple tool, pulling in some social traffic. You can use blogs, you can use social, you can use Facebook ads, you can use all that sort of stuff, influencers on Instagram to get people over to your listing, get their email address, send them off to that thank you page, pixel them, follow them up, tag them, send them emails, and potentially take that affiliate cash. Now I put this together as a simple system where you get the full hosted website template already built out. You just insert the product, whether it's the unboxing video from YouTube or a nice image of the product. The full list, email list integration, the follow-up templates that I've used to turn these cold leads into customers. And an exploration session will actually sit with me, and I'll show you exactly how I've set this up and how you can potentially do it with the market. We'll grab all of the tools that we've got that we use to do deep market analysis on what's selling, what hot products are, your opportunities in that as well. And if you already have a website or a blog for this sort of stuff, I'll show you how you can simply plug this in with no additional code straight on your site as well. The tool that we're using is ClickFunnels. It is a paid tool that will actually cover the first month for you as well. And for tonight only, you can grab this at rapidstartup.io/e-commerce to get that system, and I can install that and meet with you and get it up and running for you in a couple of days. As I said, there's a few sessions where you can talk to me about your biz at junglebooster.com/coaching. You can grab a free 15-minute session with me. If you are watching live, you can grab it on that big yellow button. If you're watching it on the replay, that button still exists, I think. Get your free 15-minute business strategy session with me. Walk through all of your issues, all of your questions around starting, growing, and launching your Amazon FBA business. Whether it's e-commerce, whether it's physical products, whether you're private labeling, or whether you just want sweet affiliate cash, we've got all of the components that you need, and I can help you with all of that. So that's tonight's session, guys. I need to run because that's 2 in a row. Nailing it. So much fun. These guys, we are doing these every Tuesday night. We've got the startup meetup, and then we've got the Jungle Booster session, Amazon FBA. We meet every Tuesday night at 8 and 9 p.m. and in person in Perth, if you guys are down here, every Wednesday. So have a great week, guys. I'm looking forward to next week. We'll create a listing next week as well. I'm interested to get you guys all on the path to using that affiliate system as well and creating a launch list. I think that's so important these days now that Amazon's banned a whole bunch of stuff. It's getting harder and harder to launch new brands. There's a whole bunch of brand gating, so it's harder to come out of the gate fast as well. So building that launch list, getting those email addresses is so important. Can mean the difference between a fizzle on your launch and a real massive launch. So subscribe, guys, if you want to get all of these and the previous sessions as well. The little YouTube icon, you can click on that and grab the previous sessions as well. And you can grab us at junglebooster.com/webinar, share that with a friend as well. Getting as many people into these sessions as possible. I want to see 1,000 Aussies launch their business on Amazon this year. It's going to be awesome. Big gold rush coming, guys. So get amongst it. Nice to see you. See you next week.